Throughout our coverage of the shooting, you would have seen this video where President Trump and guests were being entertained by Oz Pearlman, who's also known as Oz the Mentalist, who has become a social media sensation for his mind-reading tricks. He was standing right beside the President, First Lady and others when the gunshots rang out and everyone rushed for cover. Well, that mentalist, Oz Pearlman, joins me now for more. Oz, really good to be able to speak to you today. It's been about 24 hours now since those events have happened. When you reflect on them, tell us what your overriding thought is.
Yeah, I'm just glad that everybody was safe, and really give a salute to the Secret Service, their quick action, the DC police, the SWAT team, the fact that this is a different story than what it could have been, where no one died, and that I'm safe and sound with my family today is truly, a blessing. So it was a crazy night. I'm still just reeling from the shock of what took place, and the timing of it was just so crazy, because I was right in the midst of performing for the First Lady and for the President and for the press secretary, kind of guessing the name. The press secretary is having a baby soon, and she said to me, "Can you guess my baby's name?" And if you notice in the video, I'm trying to guess how many letters, and right at that moment, I rip off a piece of paper and show her the name that she's naming her daughter, which she said I can now share with people because it was such a personal moment. And at that exact moment, if you watch in the video, we notice what's going on in the room with all of the commotion and all of the guns coming in, like everybody coming in, the Secret Service, the SWAT teams came in at the same moment. And we see that something's not right. This isn't simply somebody, potentially having a medical condition or a tray falling. And we see everyone sitting and going under their tables and understanding that there's some sort of violent encounter, something is going on. I personally thought at that moment there was about to be a bomb because of the way that they were all going towards one table, and it didn't feel like they were looking for a shooter. It felt like they were looking to stop something from happening. So I, within moments, assessed and just dropped. I just wanted to get down low. And in that moment, that's when I saw, because I was down low on all fours, I saw the Secret Service bringing the president to the side and having him go down, and he was slowly going down. It's funny, I just saw that 60 Minutes interview you did for the first time, and he was going down kind of slow, so they got on top of him, and it was pretty forceful. And he came down right next to me, and we are both on the ground on fours, and I turned, and it's honestly one of the most surreal images in my life. If I didn't live it, I would have thought it was a dream, where we're about half a meter apart, face to face, looking at each other on the ground, when I am hearing shots and thinking to myself, are we about to die? So it was crazy. And then about 2 seconds later, they kind of slowly pulled him up to his feet slightly and got him out. And me and two of the other people that were at the dais, who I know from backstage, were asking, are they still shooting? Are they still shooting? Is there a shooter in the room? Like, we didn't want to look up and see what's going on, because my assumption is they're shooting at us. So we army crawled. We crawled out of the room behind the curtains as far as we could, until we felt like we were safe, and then got up and ran to the backstage area, where there were so many armed individuals that I would say I felt safe. I was very concerned about my wife, who was in the audience, and my friends, but phones didn't work. And we also did not know if the president or first lady had been shot at that point. When he went down, I did not know if he had been shot. Couldn't see. And they didn't pick him up. It wasn't a very gentle experience. I knew it was serious when they didn't just walk him out of the room, when they jumped on top of him. That's when my panic went off inside. And I said, this is real.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly chaotic, an experience too.
Yeah.
As you've been describing it, we've been looking at those images of you standing between the First Lady and the President, and all your heads turn pretty much at the same time to see where the focus is in the room. Once you were out of the room, thanks very much for talking us through that moment. What happened then? At what point did it seem like things were calmer? Did you manage to get in touch with your wife? Those sorts of things.
So there's 2,800 other people had the same idea as me. So none of the phones worked. So we couldn't get texts, couldn't get calls. Nothing was working. In the room, again, I was worried about my wife, but I thought, did the president just get shot? I mean, this is a pretty insane thing to witness. So we did not have an answer to that. In the back, all of us kept asking, is the president shot? Is the first lady shot? Because they were gone. And I actually looked, and I'm like, is there blood anywhere? Did somebody get shot? Because we were getting reports from the Secret Service that somebody was shot, somebody was killed. We think it's the shooter. And for about 5 to 10 minutes, about I didn't look at my watch, but about 5 minutes later, we were given the all clear that the president and first lady are safe. They're safe. They're secure. So that was like a breath of relief. Like, okay, wow. And then we also were told that the shooter was killed, which was not true. Later on, we found out he was arrested, but they also said, we don't know if there's any other threats in the building. We don't know if there's any other shooters. So no one is going anywhere. You're not going to the bathroom. You're locked down. So none of us could move. The people in the room couldn't leave the room. Everything was locked down. And it stayed that way for, I want to say, close to an hour. And we, at some point, once we realized we were safe, I still thought I might have to do a show. I was supposed to do a show on TV for the world and everyone in the room. So went from the more, life harrowing situation to more the mundane of, am I still doing the show? And we didn't know if it would continue or not. The vice president came in at one point. He was very calm, very collected. He assured us that the president wants to come back. We want to restart the dinner. And we did not know if that would happen. But he posted on Truth Social that it was starting. And I believe that later what occurred, this is what we heard, was that they needed to clear the building and ensure that there was no other bombs, no other shooters, and we couldn't, for safety purposes, restart the dinner, given the threats that were potentially still in the building. So that's when it was very bittersweet that I found out I'm not doing the show.
Yeah, security concerns have to come first in those situations. I
Of
totally
course.
understand that. The Correspondents' Dinner is set to be rescheduled to a later date. Have you heard anything more on that? And would you be willing and to be taking part in it again?
I've already told them 100% that I would love to take part. I think it's a very important night for journalism, for here in the United States of America, for our freedom of press, for freedom of press around the world. And I was honored to be chosen. It's unprecedented in over 100 years to have somebody who does what I do it. So I wanted to make it a very spectacular and memorable show. I will be there when they reschedule.
Oz, thanks very much for talking to us today. Really appreciate you giving us that first-hand account of how events transpired. All the best going forward. Oz Pearlman,